Hey, how's it going guys? This is Dave2D, and WWDC just went by, which is Apple's yearly conference for developers, and they released iOS9, and they also talked about a couple of interesting things in their ecosystem. So I wanted to do a quick video just kind of discussing things that I thought were particularly interesting to me, as well as some things that I thought were interesting about iOS9. All right? The first thing that comes to mind is this Rip Curl wallpaper. It's kind of cool. It's the only one they have so far, but I thought it was cool for like 20 seconds and then I got sick of it, so I have problems, I know. There's no new ringtones yet, but these usually come on in later seeds. Now, if you notice, there is a new font in iOS 9. It's the font that they used on the Apple Watch. It's called San Francisco, and I think I actually liked the older font more, but I'm pretty easy to please either way. I like lists. Actually, I love lists. I friggin' make lists all day long. I make them for work, I make them for my personal life, I make them for planning YouTube videos. I mean, I could probably make lists for my lists so that I could organize my lists better. Now, before iOS 9, I used the Reminder app to make lists just because it had the checkmark option, kind of tick off what it is that you've done. But the new Notes app is awesome for making lists. You can type up a few things that make a list and then turn them into checkmarkable items. You can also do drawn notes, but I find that there's a bit of lag when switching to drawing mode and back, but in general, it's pretty good. There's also a trackpad cursor, so if you two-finger tap anywhere on the pop-up keyboard, you can kind of control the cursor like a trackpad. It looked kind of gimmicky during the demonstration, but it's straight up one of the best features of iOS 9. It's super simple, and it's super useful, and you can really use it for just basically anything to do with text highlighting and stuff like that. The search functionality is quite a bit better. They try to do the whole proactive search thing, but it's not as good right now in its current iteration as Google Now. It's much improved over the search functionality of iOS 8, but I still think that Google Now is more accurate with its predictive material. Granted, this is the first seed of the beta, and I can only expect massive improvements over time. But I think it's really good that Apple is finally addressing how bad Siri was compared to Google Now. They demonstrated the picture-in-picture video app during the conference, and it worked really well in the conference, and it works very well in real life as well. Super fluid, and just based on my initial impressions, this makes the iPad a much more useful everyday device. The multitasking demonstration was pretty well done, and it suddenly makes the iPad just way more useful. And I think in general this bodes well for iPads and makes me even more excited for the rumored iPad Pro. Currently, you can only use multi-window with a set list of apps built by Apple, but I think this will change in time as developers make their apps more multi-window friendly. I'm not going to go into details of how it's done, but it's pretty intuitive. It's just some sliding gestures to set windows to where you want them to be. And if you have an iPad Air 2, you can use both windows at the same time. The new transit feature for Maps is pretty nice. Google Maps has had this feature for an incredibly long time, but hey, it's better late than never, right? It also has this flyover feature, which is kind of cool. You type in a city and hit flyover, and you'll basically do a flyover of a 3D generated map of the city. I've worked on several iOS games, and my very first game was very art intensive. Everything was hand drawn, and there's just a lot of sprites in the game. And because Apple has a bunch of devices with different resolutions, you draw your art to fit these devices. So you'll have a sprite sheet for like the iPhone 4, iPhone 6, iPhone 5, and all the different resolutions of iPads. It's tedious, but that's just how you make hand-drawn games, so that's fine. But then these art assets get downloaded and installed, and even worse, it gets loaded into memory. So let's say you're using an iPhone 6. Your device is storing and wastefully loading into memory the art for the iPad 2, the iPhone 4, and basically every other device that your app supports. So this new feature in iOS 9 is called app thinning, which installs only the assets that a particular device will use. So if you have an iPhone 6, it's only going to install the art assets for your specific device. Now for app developers, this is pretty good, but for indie game developers, especially for like hand-drawn art games, it'll just keep installs lighter and just perform way better. So I'm really excited to see Apple doing something like this. Some other things from WWDC that I thought were cool. watchOS 2 looks really solid. I'll be checking that out over time. I'm just really stoked that they added self-customizable watch faces, right? That's something I really wanted from day one, and I'm glad they addressed it. El Capitan looks kind of cool. I'm not that excited about it. Swift 2 being open sourced, I think it's good that they did it. It doesn't hurt them, but it's not earth-shattering news. The last thing I want to briefly talk about is Apple Music. I think they did a terrible job on the presentation. I think it kind of turned off most people who were watching it. I think Drake's appearance was really unnecessary. But I think the service is pretty cool. I think it's priced reasonably well. I mean, $10 is the standard kind of premium streaming service price, which is fine. The $15 pricing is really great for families. I think there's gonna be a lot of fake families that pop up to kind of sign it up for $3 a person. That's pretty cool. But the only thing I don't really like about it is the fact that it's another Apple service that you kind of get sucked into the ecosystem, just like iMessage and every other Apple service. Now, I don't like having everything integrated into one company. I think it kind of fosters fanboyism, but you know what? That's what you get. In any case, that's the end of this video. Hope you guys liked it, and if you have questions, comments, type below. Thumbs up if you liked it, thumbs down if you didn't. And as always, it's been nice. I'll see you guys next time.